The FBI fires Agent Peter Strzok over his text messages showing bias toward President Trump. According to Strzok's lawyer, the agency's deputy director, David Bowditch, ordered his dismissal last week. Strzok, who served in the agency for over 2 decades, is best known for his roles in the Clinton email investigation and the Russia probe. He was removed from the Russia probe after the inspector general found that he exchanged anti-Trump messages with his mistress and FBI lawyer Lisa Page. Among the most infamous messages sent to Page during the election, Strzok vowed to stop then-candidate Trump from becoming president. Additionally, in his report, the inspector general noted Strzok showed a willingness to hamper candidate Trump's election chances. One America's John Hines sat down with Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton for more on the firing.
This brings me to the other news today. There is news that Peter Strzok has actually been fired, not just demoted, not just put on suspension from the FBI. Talk about that decision. Talk about what he did which may have warranted or precipitated this action.
Well, Peter Strzok is the architect of the Russia collusion theory within the FBI. He was running it. He was heading it until he was removed by Robert Mueller in a secret personnel move. For illicit texts he was sending his girlfriend, Lisa Page, delineating that he hated Trump and that he loved Hillary Clinton. He should have been nowhere near these investigations. They've stained both investigations, the Clinton and the Trump investigations. So Strzok getting fired is something that is well past due, but it's a significant blow to the Mueller operation because it was his work that Mueller is following up on right now.
Do you think the fact that Mr. Strzok has been fired robs the Mueller investigation of some of its credibility? Talk about that if you can.
The firing of Peter Strzok is another blow to the credibility of the Robert Mueller investigation. You know, Strzok texted his girlfriend that he was going to stop Trump from being elected, and he also texted that he had an insurance policy in case he was. And it looks like Robert Mueller's special counsel operation and that wide-ranging investigation into the fanciful collusion theory was that insurance policy. So not only is this bad news for Mr. Strzok, it's bad news for the Mueller operation.
Mr. Horowitz said that Mr. Strzok showed a willingness to take an official action to hurt Trump's election prospects. Can you talk about that in the context of Mr. Strzok being fired?
Mr. Strzok should be concerned that firing isn't the final thing that will happen. He ought to be subject to a criminal investigation over his hijacking for his own political purposes, the FBI in league with others, to target President Trump.
Is this a vindication, a reflection perhaps, of the work that Judicial Watch has been doing on this issue?
Well, Judicial Watch has uncovered documents about what Strzok was up to. We had 2 big releases recently showing that he wanted unusual security clearances when he worked for Mueller. Judicial Watch also uncovered emails that Strzok wrote to, again, Lisa Page, showing he had utter contempt for his colleagues at the FBI, their policies, and shows you that he was kind of a bad apple outside of the issue of his anti-Trump animus.
You have gotten documents, obviously. How does this bear in any way on the connection between Bruce Orr and Nellie Orr and Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS and apparently what they were plotting? Is there a connection with Mr. Strzok and his work as well?
Oh, Strzok would have been the go-to-between, and he would have been part of that whole communication stream related to the anti-Trump efforts of Fusion GPS, Bruce Orr, and the FBI. He was the point man for the FBI on these issues. He's behind the FISA warrants that are so controversial. You can bet, was dealing with Fusion GPS, both directly and indirectly through Bruce Orr. There's a lot to be uncovered as it relates to Strzok's involvement with Fusion GPS and Bruce Orr still.
And presumably Nellie Orr and Christopher Steele as well?
Well, you had this group of people. You had Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Andrew McCabe, all directed by James Comey and top officials in other agencies under Obama, working with Fusion GPS, who had hired Christopher Steele, also to have looks like a better in with the Justice Department hired Nellie Orr, the wife of Bruce Orr, the number 4 justice, and they were all working towards one goal, which was getting Donald Trump.
And presumably your lawsuits may bring forth additional documentation. Is that what you're suspecting?
We have lawsuits on all of that. Judicial Watch has Freedom of Information Act lawsuits on Bruce Orr, Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, Peter Strzok, you name it. So I'm hoping that pressure not only results in the release of information, but results in some further accountability from both the FBI and Justice Department and the other agencies who embroiled in this scandal. There's no doubt that the sort of information that Judicial Watch has been able to uncover has contributed to the public pressure for accountability, and that in part has resulted in the firing of Peter Strzok.